Hey guys, Crazy Gamer 12. Welcome back to another video. So today, I kind of wanted to make another Let's Talk video. It's not going to be about school. It is going to be about something more among what is mostly on my channel. As you guys might know, I play a lot of Nintendo video games. Now I do have a couple Let's Talk videos from like 2 years back in like early 2016. Talking about like that's when I first started my Let's Talk series, and I started like I talked like about Mario, just like Super Mario and Mario Kart and stuff like that. But now we're gonna get into the whole gist of things in terms of I guess it's kind of a part 2 to Super Mario. So basically, I'm going to be going over most of the games in the main series. I'll bring off spin-offs if I really need to, but we're just going to stick to the main series for the most part. Okay, so first off, we have Super Mario Brothers. Came out on the NES in 1985. It's a very popular game. A lot of people know about it, and it is the highest selling game on the NES by far. It's not. It used to be the highest selling game ever made, period. But Wii Sports took that spot. But anyways, but yeah. So Super Mario Bros. The number one highlights of the NES overall. A very classic platformer. It brings back it basically it's one of the first platformer games ever made. Pretty it's pretty challenging, I'd say. It has a decent amount of challenge. It doesn't have no save. The unfortunate thing is there's no save feature or unlimited continues. So if you get a game over, your ass is gets sent all the way back to the beginning of the game. There is a continue code that allows you to continue from the last world you died on, from the last world, not level world, like 4 levels in a world. So, like all the way back to the beginning of a world. But that's technically cheating, so beating the game with it doesn't necessarily count as beating the game. At least in my opinion, anyways. So yeah, being one of the most famous games on the system, a year later in 1986, Japan was making a sequel, for Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. 2, on the Famicom Disk System. Now, that game was not released in America because people found it to be incredibly frustrating, and they were concerned for the future of the franchise, so they decided to keep it exclusively in Japan. You can buy it off the off the eShop if you can buy the original release on the original Famicom version off the Nintendo eShop. You could also, but I recommend playing, if you're going to play Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which is another name for it, play Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo, because 1 has a save feature, and 2, the controls are so much better, and match the level design a little bit better. Yeah, but anyway, so, but the one thing I can compliment about, Lost Levels, the original version, is that it does have unlimited continues. So if you get a game over, you only get sent back to the beginning of the world. You don't get sent all the way back to the beginning of the entire game. So that's definitely quite a step up. Unfortunately, Super Mario Bros. 2. Alright, now on to Super Mario Bros. 2. Super Mario Bros. 2, released in America, was originally in Japan, known as Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, another game on the Famicom Disk System. They were originally going to release it. They were going to release it in. They were planning on releasing it in America, which they did, but they called it Super Mario Bros. 2. It's pretty much the same exact thing, but then they resold it back to Japan, calling it Super Mario Bros. USA. So I don't know exactly who got screwed over more, whether it was the Americans for getting a fake sequel, or the Japanese for getting sold the same game twice. So that's something to think about. Okay, now on to probably the most fan favorite of the original classic series, Super Mario Bros. 3. It was released in Japan in 1988, the same year that Super Mario Bros. 2 was released in America. But unfortunately, I think they were having some trouble releasing it in America in 1988 or something. So they decided to release it a little later in the system's lifespan in 1990, in the year 1990, for the NES. Now, I think the Super Nintendo had already come out at that point, but it was still, like, for a late release NES game, it is really, really good. I highly recommend it, personally. I don't own a Super Nintendo or an NES at the moment. I plan on getting those two consoles in the future. I'm probably going to ask for a Super Nintendo for Christmas, not for Christmas, my birthday, which is in a few months. So, yeah. And I'm also going to be hunting for more GameCube and Nintendo 64 games as well. Anyways, but that's besides the point. Super Mario Bros. 2 is definitely a much, much better game. Better controls, better music, and like more engaging story if you're playing the GBA version. I'll get into the re-releases in a second, but we're talking about the originals for now. But first of all, Super Mario Bros. 3 is tons more fair than any other game before that, because there are unlimited continues, and I think you only get sent back to the beginning of the world if you get a game over. So, unfortunately, doesn't have a save feature, unfortunately. So, if you turn off the game, and you're in the middle of the game, and you just turn the system off, you will have to start from the beginning of the game, unfortunately. So, that is something disappointing, especially for a late release NES game. They should have had some kind of save feature at that point. But anyways, Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES is still plenty playable. It's still beatable, without a doubt. Anybody can beat it. Like, as long as you play it enough, you will beat the game. But, it should have had a save feature around 1990, so. Anyways. Oh, and I almost forgot about, Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. Now, Super Mario Land is I think it's one of the first Game Boy games that ever came out. And it was also one of the first handheld games that came out. And it's pretty much, like Super Mario Bros., but on the Game Boy. It's pretty much the same thing, but the game is tons more different. But anyways, and it's not that long. It's only 12 levels long, so. I have the second game. I have the 6 golden coins, which I'll get to in a second, but I do not own the first one. I'm going to get the first one at some point. Next up in the lineup is Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. A lot of people think this is the best game in the series. I can see why, too. Really good game, perfect control, pretty much, but really, really good control, at the very least. Graphics look great for SNES standards, and the music sounds great. And also, it has a save feature, so that immediately bumps it up to more reasonable in terms of difficulty. So that's why a lot of people think this is that's the best game in the series. And then the next game is I don't know if Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins, came out before Mario World. Because I know Mario World was released in America in 1992. It was released in other countries in like 1991 and stuff, but it was released in America in sometime in 1992. But so was 6 golden coins. So 6 golden coins is a sequel to Super Mario Land 1. Still very, very good game. Not much else to say about it. And I will probably make a part 2 to this, just a heads up. But anyway, so, and then, the Nintendo didn't make another mainstream Mario game for a little while. They did, however, make a spin-off. Yoshi's Island. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, for the Super Nintendo in 1995. So, Super Mario, Yoshi's Island is kind of a spin-off. I don't know if it counts as a Mario game or not, but it's definitely in the main series. And it's like, I think it was the first game where Yoshi it was mainly based on Yoshi. Yoshi was first introduced in Super Mario World, but Yoshi didn't get his own game until Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo. And then in 1996, when the Nintendo 64 came out, that is when the series started to experience Mario games in 3D. And that's when Super Mario 64 comes in. Now, Super Mario 64 is a great game. I do not own it. Most of you guys know, I do own a Nintendo 64. But I do not have Super Mario 64 at the moment. I will be getting that at some point. Also, and they were still learning the concept of 3D character models, so the graphics look kind of outdated, in my opinion. But it's still good. It's still, like, the controls are great, and the game still plays pretty smoothly. So, I definitely recommend Super Mario 64. Next on the lineup is, now there are the Mario Kart games, which I'm not going to be bringing up because, you know, it's not Super Mario. It's a Mario Kart game. I'll maybe get into that in another Let's Talk video, but anyways. So then, came out, what other game? Oh, yeah. It wasn't until 6 years later until they made another 3D Mario title. Super Mario Sunshine for the Nintendo GameCube in 2002. Really, really good game. But a lot of people think that's the best 3D game in the series, I'm pretty sure. At least in most people's opinion. Mario Sunshine is definitely a game I'm looking forward to getting, especially since I own a GameCube now, so I definitely want to get the Super Mario Sunshine at some point. Anyways, and then in 2004, or excuse me, in the late 90s, I don't want to forget about the remakes. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe came out on the Game Boy Color. Now, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, it's the Game Boy Color remake of the 1985 Super Mario Brothers. But it's pretty much the same game, just only on the Game Boy Color. Now, I think it is inferior to the original because, first of all, it has a massive amount of screen crunch, so it's a little hard to see what you're doing sometimes, and enemies can just blindside you a lot, so something to keep in mind. Also, what's it called? And then Super Mario, and then that's where the Super Mario Advance series comes in. Now, Super Mario Advance 1 was released in 2000, I think. Yeah, 2000, on the Game Boy Advance. I'm pretty sure. No, it was 2001. It was released on the Game Boy Advance. And it's a really good game. It's a remake of Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES, the one where you pick up the Doki Doki Panic remake, technically. Anyways, so, and it's much better than the NES version, because the NES version only had 2 continues, and no save feature. The Game Boy Advance version, on the other hand, has a full-on save feature that saves you up to the level that you died on. So that's... right away, it's tons more fair than the NES original. Tons more fair. And then, I think in 2002, came Super Mario Advance 2, which is the remake of Super Mario World. Pretty much the same game, just on the Game Boy Advance. Nothing has really changed too much. But it's it's a really good remake of the SNES original. Then came out Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island. Pretty much the same exact game as the SNES original, just on the GBA. And then Super Mario Advance 4, the remake of Super Mario Bros. 3. So that's also a really good remake. And also the graphics are much improved, and the music sounds pretty good. It's just tons more better. I feel like it sounds more better because first off, it does have a full-on save feature as well as a quick save feature to save you up to if you want to stop in the middle of a world. Anyway, so I'll go in more in depth with more of the mainstream Mario games in a possible part 2. So, possible part 3 because this is another Super Mario video. Anyways, see you guys next time.